What if S Club 7 had brought out their own party adventure video game? Hello, welcome to Chill and Comfort Gaming's first long-formed YouTube video. I am so excited to do this. I've been doing research for months to see if S Club 7 could have brought out their own adventure party game, and let's just say I have notes for this. So if you see me referring to my tablet, then you know why. So there are a couple of things that I want to cover. So I want to talk about the party side of the game, and I want to talk about how I want the party game to be accessible as possible. I will go into more detail with this, but I'm going to get the iToy involved from the PS2. I'm getting dance mats involved. I want to get accessible controllers involved in this as well. So we've got the party side of things to cover. I also am going to go through the TV series that they had. So they had 4 seasons of them just traveling around the world, and the drama that they had in the TV series, I couldn't not try and make a video game around this. For example, you're going to be swimming with dolphins, and you've got a level where you're having to deal with an alligator, and there's levels where you're sneaking around. I really mean, I have gone to I have really gone to town with this idea. I'm also going to give you a little bit of insight with the fact that, they did bring out a couple of interactive CDs, and I didn't know this until I took a deep dive. But if you have a Rachel Stevens CD, some of her CDs had games if you put them into the computer. Like I said, I only found this out when I was taking a deep dive, and I think it's amazing that Rachel Stevens has a mini game. And now, I'm not an artist by any means, but I could do some very basic Photoshop. So I've kind of designed like a draft of what the cover of the game would have been like. Now, like I said, I'm not an artist, but I think this is something that I could work on in the future. So should we just get into it? Let's do it. So S Club 7 were a British band that were absolutely huge, sort of like in the late 90s to early 2000s. And in the band, they had 7 members. So they had Joe, they had Tina, they had Rachel, they had Hannah. And then for the boys, they had Bradley, John, and God rest his soul now, we had Paul, who, I will be real, Paul was my favourite band member. But they brought out some absolutely incredible songs. Now, coming up to recording this video, I've been listening to their songs so much in the car, and I kept hearing songs like, oh yeah, they brought out this song and this song and this song. So you might know some of their songs, such as S Club. There ain't nobody like an S Club party. Reach for the stars, and when that rainbow's shining over you, that's when your dreams will all come true. Don't stop moving to the funky, funky beat. Don't stop moving to the S Club beat, beat. And then I love the bit in Never Had a Dream Come True where Joe goes, no, 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 no! Never had a dream come true. Oh God, honestly, I absolutely love that song. I can't sing it, but I love it. In the early 90s to 2000s, no matter where you went, you would be hearing an S Club 7 song. Like when I was at primary school, you used to always have those little discos like in the summertime or whenever it was Halloween. You know, when you had the DJs where they just had like 4 colourful lights and they always played the same songs. Well, Don't Stop Moving by S Club 7 is guaranteed to be played at a primary school disco in the early 2000s. And, they had the TV series that everybody was like really gripped onto, which I am going to talk about a bit later. Like, I was such a huge fan of S Club 7. I remember having a poster on my wall, and my best friend at the time came round, and when you've got like the printing company that have done the posters, well, we thought that the number on it was actually S Club 7's number, so we tried to ring them, and we left them a voice message. It's so silly now, but obviously when you're a kid, like, your imagination is just going absolutely wild. So yeah, we thought we were ringing S Club 7, and it obviously wasn't S Club 7. It was the publishing company that decided to print the posters. So that gives you an insight of what I was like as a kid. And also, as well, just going back to, the blast from the past, like, I used to love Top of the Pops magazine as well. And I always used to love it when you used to cut the posters and stick them on your wardrobe. I am pretty confident, from what I remember, is I had an S Club 7 one that I just cut out of the magazine. And I'm pretty sure I had a Paul poster as well, because like I said, he was my favourite. God rest his soul. But they were just amazing, weren't they? I've got my tablet for this next bit because I need to make sure that I'm referring to my notes for this. But we're going to talk about the interactive CD-ROMs that S Club 7 brought out, and I'm going to talk about some of the mini games. Now, I do want to give a shout out to the world of S Club 7 because I learned a lot from their page. So I might reference them here and there. And also I want to thank the S Club 7 fandom as well, because I got a lot of my research from them. I was looking into other artists that have brought out a video game, and I just don't understand how S Club 7 never had a party game or adventure game, because there was so much potential there, especially with all the hype that was going on around them. I just don't understand how a video game, like a party adventure game, just didn't exist. But I will tell you some artists that did bring out a video game. So Spice Girls brought out a game on the PS1 called Spice World, which is a game where you could remix the music, then do the choreography, and then it also had a section where you could learn about the Spice Girls, and it had interviews and things like that in the game. And the only reason why I knew about it in the first place is because I had a winter release 98 demo disc on the PS1, which showed some gameplay preview. So that's how I ended up knowing about it. There was Get Fit with Mel B. That was a game on the Xbox. So you plug the Xbox camera into the console and you can get fit with Mel B. Black Eyed Peas had something similar. It wasn't a fitness game, but it was called the Black Eyed Peas Live Experience. So again, you plug in your camera into your Xbox and you can just go and party with Black Eyed Peas. Britney Spears had a game on the PS2 called Dance Beat, which was sort of a rhythm game, sort of similar to the Dance Mat, but it was just a slightly different layout. Avicii had a game called Invector, which is a rhythm game. ABBA had a Wii game called You Can Dance. If you had a PS2 growing up, I can guarantee that you had SingStar, which was basically a karaoke game. And Queen and Take That had their own dedicated game. Guitar Hero had dedicated games to Metallica and Aerosmith. And Jojo Siwa brought out a game a few years ago called Worldwide Party. And that was the name of the S Club 7 game that I've come up with. So me and Jojo Siwa clearly have very similar ideas. I can't believe I got my hands on this. This was £6 on eBay. And let me tell you, I went down a nostalgia trip, and this is the most 2000s thing that I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing. So this is the S Club 7 software activity pack. Now, I did have a bit of an issue getting this started at first because with my PC, it's obviously like newer software, and for some reason, when you try and play older games, it's quite difficult to get things going. But I did a bit of digging in the files and I managed to find most of what was on this CD. The first thing I have to talk about, which was a big thing in the 2000s, was you wanted to print every single thing off. Whether you played like a flash game online or you had a CD, they wanted you to print stuff off. So they have this section where you could print off a little sign for your bedroom door and it says my room, and you could choose which S Club 7 member you had at the side. You could also print off some posters as well. So at some point I do want to print these off just to see what it looks like in 2026. They also have a solitaire section, and basically the games aren't different to normal solitaire, but on the cards it does have pictures of S Club 7. So when you find the Queen of Hearts card, it has all the girl members from S Club 7 on the card. I was like, that is so 2000s. But there wasn't just the one game in the solitaire section, like there's absolutely loads. They also have a word search, but what made me laugh about this is if you struggled, you could just press one button and go, finished! They made it so easy to do the word search, but it would be like trying to find the band members, or I think they did the first names on one word search and then the last names on a different word search. So if you do want to play an S Club 7 word search, go and find yourself a copy of the S Club 7 software activities pack. Now, my favourite part of this CD was the jigsaw part. You could, you could choose which band member jigsaw that you wanted to do, and I chose to do Bradley's jigsaw. So Bradley is this band member here. I never thought in my 30s that I would be sat one evening doing a Bradley jigsaw, and the image on the screen was so pixelated. I loved it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And you know what? It took me about 20 minutes to do. Like, this wasn't the easiest jigsaw, but I'm here for it, and I would do it again. Why not? You only live once, right? So yeah, this is the S Club 7's software activity pack. S Club 7 also brought out another interactive CD-ROM, which was called S Club 7 on the Road, which had a variety of mini games. Now, I will be honest, I tried to get a copy of this, but it was £55. And as much as I like S Club 7, I'm a girl with not a lot of money right now, and I can't afford to pay £55 for an S Club 7 game. But not all is lost, because the World of S Club 7 have posted a long form video of what was on the CD. So big shout out to the World of S Club 7. Also on the S Club 7 fandom website, they've given a little description of what was on each minigame. Driving ambition. Help Rachel drive safely to pick up the other band members and get them to the airport on time. S Club Party, Tina's party planning game. You can design party stuff, placemats, invitation, name cards, and door signs. Again, this was a very 2000s thing. Everybody wanted to print off everything so they could make their room look extra groovy. Nobody says groovy anymore, do they? Then another mini game was the interview section, which was Paul's section. So it says, use a microphone to interview band members. There are 10 questions, and you can ask any of the 7 members these 10 questions. Hit the track. So when I looked, it didn't say whose section this was. A music identification game. You hear short clips of S Club songs and must match them to the right song or music video. The pace gets faster as you go on. Now, this is the kind of mini game that I would want to play. Like, you've just got that pressure of like, oh, I want to get it right. And when you do get it right, you're absolutely buzzing. Dress for success. This is Bradley's section. You help Bradley choose his outfit from mixed up clothes in his wardrobe. Then you've got a band rehearsal karaoke section, which you sing along to S Club 7. You can rehearse, you can record, and play back your performance using the built-in microphone. I'm really intrigued of how they did this back in the 2000s, because obviously the technology wasn't the same as it is now. That sort of side of things actually fascinates me. And the final section is Reach the Top. So it's a quiz knowledge game, and you've got to answer questions about S Club 7, which is a multiple choice game to climb up the charts. Did you know that Rachel Stevens even had mini flash games? What you do is you get some of her singles, so I'm going to go through that in a minute, but you put them into your CD-ROM on your computer and you got flash games. The one that I found that made me laugh out loud, again, I want to reference the World of S Club 7 because I only found this out because I watched their video, but on the I Said Never Again CD, she had a video game called Jailbreak. Now, this mini flash game is you are Rachel Stevens and you break out of jail. I don't really know the story about this game or anything like that. I don't know the context, But I just love the fact that people sat down in a meeting and was like, right, on this CD, we need to have a game where Rachel Stevens is breaking out of prison. And Rachel's like, okay, yeah, let's do it, let's go. But Rachel, I don't think you'll ever see little old me doing a YouTube video, but all I'm going to say is I'm absolutely here for it. If you put in her CD called So Good, they had a memory game, which I would be absolutely terrible at because my memory is just not great. And then I'm not sure what the game was for this, but it was Capture the Heart, which was featured on Rachel Stevens' Negotiate with Love. So yeah, she had a couple of flash games as well. Before we go into my ideas of what an S Club 7 video game would look like, I do want to mention that they did have a couple of songs that were featured in video games. So there is a game called We Sing Encore where they feature the song Don't Stop Moving. In SingStar as well on the PS2, they had Don't Stop Moving. There was a dance stage party edition on the PS1, which was like a dance mat game. Their song, Don't Stop Moving, I think it was on that game. And Reach for the Stars was featured on Dance UK, which was another dance mat game. It's time to bring my ideas to the table of what if S Club 7 had brought out a video game. So I'm going to do the first section, which is the whole party section, and I want to talk about how I want to make this game as accessible as I can. We're then going to go into the TV series, which is going to be a very long section, as I've gone through pretty much every single episode and how you can turn those episodes into a level for a video game. And then we're going to get on to the game cover that I have designed and what it may potentially look like. Are you ready? Because I am. So firstly, I want to talk about the party section, which is going to feature every single song that S Club 7 ever released. So that'll be the biggest hits or any songs that are on the album that maybe don't get a lot of spotlight. And I also want it to feature every song that was sung in the TV series. And what I want for this party section is I want you, the player, to choose how you want to party. Let me elaborate a little bit further. Now, I feel very, very strongly about this, but the first way that I want this game to be accessible is to feature sign language. Now, I was kindly invited on Good Game Dan's and Poetic Surge Gaming's podcast, the Good Poets Gaming podcast on Spotify, if you do want to check that out. And this was a topic that we discussed for quite some time as to why sign language, A, isn't represented enough in video games, and B, why isn't it an option? You know, the deaf community should be able to enjoy video games. You know, deaf people can go to a concert and they can see the interpreter from the side, and usually the interpreter's like dancing away and making concerts absolutely inclusive for the deaf community. But why is that not an option in video games? I just don't understand why it's missing. I did a project on sign language at college, and I wanted to do a project about how sign language is represented and where you can see and access sign language. And one of the things that I found, do you remember that song, Put a Donk on It by the Blackout Crew? Well, on a music channel, they had a person to the right hand side of the screen and they managed to do the whole song doing sign language, and this person is giving it everything they've got with like they're dancing like this and then like different face expressions and that, and it's incredible to watch. And I feel like if there was something like this in the S Club 7 video game, it would just be absolutely class. So if you are a person that communicates through sign language, you could just access the game and just party away. But if you're somebody that wants to learn sign language, there could be a section in the party game where it goes through each song and it teaches you how to do the sign language for that song. And then you've got the party section where you're on camera and you get to see how you're doing the sign language. I just think it would just be a completely new idea. I mean, I don't know if there is any games that feature anything like this. And if there is, and I don't know about it, just comment below. But I really do feel like this would really open some doors, not only for people that are in the deaf community to play this game, but also for people that are wanting to learn. I just feel like this would make the S Club 7 party game really, really special. If you're not necessarily a gamer, but you love karaoke, then you should be able to just plug in a microphone into whatever console you're playing and you can just sing along and sing to your heart's content and sing until you annoy the neighbours. For anybody who is not a gamer watching this, there was a game on the PS2 called SingStar, and then they have brought out further SingStar games as consoles have gone on, but I'm just mostly familiar with the PS2 version. And in the PS2 SingStar, so you could plug in your iToy camera and see yourself on the screen if you wish. If you don't want to do that, you can just watch the music video. But when you were singing into your microphones, they would have a little coloured bar on the screen depending on what colour your microphone is. And you got to just sing and you score points on how well you sing. So if people just want to do like a little karaoke section, then that will also be an option on the S Club 7 video game. Another way that you can have an S Club party is if you plug in your console's camera, so like an iToy, into your console and then you can dance on the screen. So I would want this to be very similar to the PS2 game iToy Groove. So with iToy Groove, you would be in the middle of the screen and you would have little headsets at the side of you. And what you have to do is you have to dance in time with the beat. So, for example, I can't remember if it's like a little disc or a little smiley face that goes towards the headset, but the little icon would fly to the headset and you would have to hit it when they match. So it's basically like a little rhythm game. It kind of works similar to a dance mat, but I feel like this would just be a really cool, nostalgic element to the game. Let's bring the dance mat back, please. Where have they gone? Did they even bring out a dance mat for later consoles? Like, I don't know. I remember having a Dance UK dance mat, and I used to hit the arrows so hard with my foot that I think I actually broke my dance mat. But I do think I still have this broken dance mat in my mum and dad's garage. The dance mat, it was basically like, I can only describe, it was really crinkly but it was like a big plastic mat that had sensors in it, and you would watch the screen and you have to hit the mat in time with the beat. So if you're seeing the up arrow go towards you, for example, you have to then hit the up arrow on the dance mat to make it register. I just really want to bring the dance mat back. I think the only dance mats that I've seen in recent time is like when you go to an arcade. But where has the dance mats gone? Bring them back. I just want to use a dance mat. But yeah, like you could be like, reach for the stars, and you're like hitting your feet on the dance mat, and yeah, I let's make a dance mat a feature in the S Club 7 video game. Or say that you don't like the modern controller where you're having to press like your 4 buttons, then there's an option if you're playing on the Wii or on the PlayStation, you've got a censored controller. So you could have like a Beat Saber game where you've got to hit in time with the beat, like this. It just means that, you know, you can have a rhythm game without having to hold like a bog standard controller. And you can put some effects on where you get to do like the S Club, and it's all like really sparkly when you use your sensor controller. So I just have to get my notes up again for this one. So Logitech do this really interesting controller, and it's called Logitech G Adaptive Gaming Kit. So it's got sort of the mechanics of the Xbox controller, but the only way I can describe it looks a bit like a drum kit. So you've got 2 big circles, and you do have like the little arrow D-pad, but you can plug different jacks in it. So it means that all your buttons can be in a completely different place depending on what you need the controller for. I just think that more games should be adapting just to a variety of controllers. If you do want to watch a bit more information about this, then Logitech do a really cool video about how the Logitech adaptive gaming kit works. I can't believe that controllers like this even exist, but I'm so glad that they do. And I think there should be a section where you don't need a controller at all, but there is a feature where you can just watch and learn the dance moves. So, for example, if you want to learn the routine from Bring It All Back to You, you can literally just watch the video and somebody will teach you how to do all the dance moves. I also think it would be a really cool feature in the game if, say, if you wanted to be in the game, well, obviously not on camera, but you can either customize your own character just so that you could be part of S Club, or you can choose one of the band members and perform as them. And just like the Pop Idol game on the PS2, you will be enriched with a fabulous, fabulous wardrobe. So you can just have so many customizations options when it comes to character design. I hope that I have covered quite a lot of the accessibility sides of things, especially when it comes to the partying side of the S Club 7 game. I know that when I edit or upload this, I'll think of even more ideas of how this game could be accessible, but I really hope that we've made a pretty good start. We have just covered the party section of our S Club 7 game. Now it is time to get into the adventure sides of this S Club 7 game, which is based on the TV series. So I have covered most episodes, but there might be one or two that I've missed just because when I was watching it and trying to gather bits of research, it just wasn't coming to me creatively. But most of the episodes I've managed to write something about them. I've got the resources from the IMDb synopsis of each episode, and I've just tried to find whatever clips that I can find online of the TV series. I've also got inspiration from them as well. So shall we take a deep dive into the second half of this game, which is the adventure section? Now for this, I will be referencing to my notes because there is a lot of notes, but we're going to talk about the 4 seasons that S Club 7 produced. So there was S Club 7 Miami, S Club Los Angeles, S Club Hollywood, and S Club Viva Barcelona. So I think there's around about 10 to 13 episodes per season, but I'm really, really excited to go through this. It would definitely be a whirlwind of an adventure, but let's dive in. Let's go. Season 1, episode 1, Takeoff. So this episode was made on Thursday, April the 8th, 1999. So musical group S Club 7 struggle to find any fame. The group manager, Danny Parsons, finds a way to get them out of England. From the things that I have seen, I believe that they are based in London. And I think it would be really cool to have a slight open world to this. So yes, you have your main missions, but if you do want to go off and do some little things, then you can do. So if you're in London, you should be able to go and travel around and see the main landscape. So if you guys want to go and see Big Ben, go and see Big Ben. If you want to go on the London Eye, go on the London Eye. Like, you know, you're a young band, you know, you're carefree and you just want to have a good time. But the main goal is to find Danny Parsons' office. It gets into like a little cutscene when you're having the conversation, and then you get straight on a plane. And what you guys have to do is to start a party on the plane. So it'd just be really funny if you could like go and find an air hostess and you could just go and buy a can of pop and drink it, and then you're like, wow, I'm buzzing, let's go and party. And then, you know, you're just like throwing crisps on the plane, or, you know, you're getting people out of their seats to sort of dance and party. Once you finish partying, now I've got this idea based of the Bratz game. I think it's called Girls Really Rock. But they go, oh no, I've missed the bus, so I've got to get the plane. And you do this like skydiving section, and you've got to collect the hoops as you fly from the sky to the ground. I think it'd be really funny if we got to do the same thing with S Club 7, and they got to make little shapes with clouds. The end of the episode and the main goal after that is to find the hotel. Season 1, episode 2, Howard's Hotel. The hotel is not as glamorous as the group's agent promised them. Instead of singing and performing, the gang have to work as hotel employees rather than full-time performers. When Howard does ask the group to sing, they are his choice of songs, and it's not from S Club 7's original set, and it's definitely not their music style. After being booed by the hotel crowd, they promptly get back at Howard by performing their own song, S Club Party. The aim of this level is to clean the hotel in a timely manner. So, one section that you have to do is clean the swimming pool. Now, the swimming pool is going to have loads of like green moss around the sides of the pool. You're going to have to get insects out of it by getting a net and scooping them out. And then you've got to make sure you gather all the leaves out. Like, this is going to be the worst swimming pool that you've ever seen in your life. Then you've got to set the tables in the restaurant. So you've got to make sure that you've got the cloths on, you've got the knives and forks, the salt and pepper is full. Make sure that you've got all the decorations like candles or flowers on the tables as well. You have to vacuum the hotel rooms. You've got to clean the windows, and you even have to paint the walls. I'll tell you what, I hope they're getting paid a lot for this. Then S Club 7 are absolutely raging, but you have no change to use the payphone. So you've got to go around Miami and collect a certain amount of coins to then use the payphone to ring your manager back in the UK. I've kind of got this idea from the Pop Idol games on the PS2. So if you perform really badly, so say if you press the buttons and they're not in time with the rhythm, then your character would sing really, really badly. But the aim of this section is that you want to sing as badly as possible, but you still have to hit the buttons in time. So this could be an interesting concept. So if you miss the buttons, you actually sing really well, and that's not what you want for this, because you really, really want to annoy the hotel manager. Season 1, Episode 3, The Blue Chevy. The group persuades Howard to pay them decent wages and sell them his spare car, which promptly breaks down. Joe and Bradley decide to secretly take parts from Howard's red Chevy and put them in their own car. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to find Howard's house. So on the screen, there's going to be a little mini map, and there'll be a little marker on where to go. And then this is going to be the time limit. You're going to sneak inside the garage, right? And you have got to get the car parts in a time limit. And this could be quite difficult if you might need to get the right tool to get the right car parts out and things like that. And yeah, I can just imagine like you having to fix wires and getting your screwdriver and unscrewing bolts, but you've got to do it really, really quickly. Do not get caught by Howard, otherwise you will have to start the whole thing again. This is when the alligator situation starts coming in. You have to run away from Howard's alligator, and this is going to be like a Temple Run styled level. Just imagine S Club 7's music's playing and they're just trying to run away from an alligator. If you get caught by the alligator, that alligator takes the car parts off you, and you've got to go back to the car, get them again, and then keep running from the alligator. And then you've got the challenge of actually trying to fit those car parts into your own car. So this bit is just going to be a huge section in itself. Season 1, Episode 4, Wind Resistance. With a hurricane en route, Howard leaves Paul in charge of the hotel and the Hawaiian party that he has planned for the guests. But Paul becomes extremely bossy, and he orders the other S Club members around. As the storm gets stronger, they discover that Howard has been taking shelter in the hotel this whole time. There's going to be preparations for this party, and you're going to get to design sort of like the outfits that you get to wear. So the changing room is going to look similar to the one that's in the Pop Idol game, and you get to customize your outfit for the party. Then you have to prepare the room. So you want to make sure that this party room is like really, really clean and it's got everything that it needs. I do want to add a bit of a fun element to this where you get to design what decorations are going to be around the room. Are they going to have any fancy lights? Are there going to be any banners? Are you going to decorate the stage area? Are you going to choose the colour of the tablecloths? You know, things like that. But then there's like this whole pressure of making sure that the party is a success. So you might have mini games like serving and mixing cocktails. You've got to go around and serve the food in a timely manner and don't make people angry. And then once that whole party is done, you've then obviously got to clean the tables and make sure that that is all back to normal. Then you obviously get notified that Howard has been hiding in the basement, and it's basically going to be a bit like a hide and seek game, and you've got to try and find Howard in the right time limit. Otherwise, Howard's just never going to do work again in the hotel, is he? So I don't have anything for episode 5, but for episode 6, we have got the alligator episode. Howard finds himself on a date with a swimsuit model, and Rachel, Tina, and Joe are set to give Howard a makeover. Whilst this is going on, the boys and Hannah decide that they are gonna let the alligator free. And by the way, the alligator is called Clint. Love that, love that. But then they have a disappointment that Clint the alligator comes back because apparently it's a domesticated alligator. As you do. Howard's date is a complete disaster. Apparently, Arlene has absolutely no fashion sense at all, and Howard just ends up taking it out on the S Club members. You can give Howard the makeover of your life. You can make him look as silly as possible. You know, you can do his hair. If you want to add like any face paint on him, then you can do that as well. So, like I said, there's going to be a little bit of a back and forth with this level. So, whilst you're giving him a makeover, so you're going to focus on like his hair and stuff first. Then when it comes to the alligator section, you're first going to find the resources to help the alligator escape. You're going to need netting, you're going to get big metal tubes. You're also going to need a lorry because you need to put the alligator in there so you can drive off a little bit later. So once you have done Howard's face paint and hair, you're then going to take him to the shopping centre and you get to choose what Howard is going to wear for his date. And this just could be absolutely ridiculous. Like you can get him in a mascot outfit if you want, or you could just design like the silliest shirts. Like in the Bratz games, you've got a section where you can design the t-shirts and maybe you can do the same. You can just get as creative as you want. Then you have got the task of actually getting the alligator out. So this could be like a couple of ways. So you could have it as like a maze game. So you've got to make sure that you're turning all the tubes and that in the correct way. And if you don't do it in the right time limit, then you're going to have to start again. Or you can get creative. So you can do it as like a sandbox mode where you get to decide where everything is. Another section that we've got, you get to go on the date with Howard and you get to choose the conversation. So if you want this date just to be absolutely crazy, then you get to decide how the conversation goes within the date. And your aim is to just make the date an absolute disaster. I think this is going to be a really, really good level for the video game. Season 1, Episode 7, Volleyball. They are given volleyball lessons by some locals who turn out to be the workers of Howard's cousin's Hank's hotel. Howard decides to set up a volleyball match between the two hotels, and he actually bets that S Club 7 would lose the match. And when S Club 7 find out, they are really, really mad and they will do everything in their power to win the match. There's going to be a section where you are being trained on how to play volleyball. So this will give you a little insight on how to do the mini game. And then basically the main thing of this level is just to win the volleyball game. Now, when it comes to the mini games, I want to kind of make it customizable for the player on the length and difficulty. So you've got very, very easy, medium, hard, extremely hard. And you can choose how many rounds you do. The minimum is like 3 rounds and the maximum maybe like 10. It depends what kind of player you are. But I do want to give people the options to have that own time limit in terms of the mini games. There also could be a really funny bit where, say that you've won the match, you then have to create some sort of chant to be like, ha ha, Howard, in your face. So you get to choose like the choreography, and maybe you could like choose what song they sing and things like that. But I think it would just be a really funny idea just to really get back at Howard and rub it in his face that we won the match. Season 1, episode 8, Alien Hunter. I feel like this episode was probably one of the most iconic ones that people remember because, you know, they're on like a TV set and they've all got like really funny costumes. And when I was thinking back to the S Club 7 series, this was sort of the episode that I really remembered the most. But the band becomes the star of a fictional hit TV show, Alien Hunter. The hotel is used as a filming location. Tina is dressed as an alien and falls asleep in the back of a laundry truck and wakes up in a busy shopping mall on the other side of the city, where she meets a really handsome photographer. Meanwhile, Tina's dad suddenly turns up at Paradise Hotel and blames Howard for her mysterious disappearance. Meanwhile, Rachel and Hannah have a slight falling out over Rachel teasing Hannah about her role in the show. You can be the lorry driver who is driving Tina to the mall, and you could just have so many different obstacles that try and stop you from getting to the mall. Then there could be some sort of detective section where you're trying to find pieces of evidence of where you think Tina might have gone. So there might have like been bits of costume that have fallen off, or you have to ask people, when was the last time she did a bit of filming on set? So you've got to do a little bit of detective work. Then you play as Tina and you have to try and find your way out of the mall. I played a section recently on a game. It was the Mary, Kate and Ashley game. And there was a mini game where you had these sort of, I think they were fans, and you had these clothes and they were kind of firing at you, and you had to try and collect a certain amount of items in order to pass to the next level. But maybe this could be a way that you either avoid the clothes or you have to collect a certain amount of items to get out of the mall. Also, another option is that you want to find a way to make money. So you've got to do the perfect poses for this photographer, and you get enough money to basically get out of the mall and return back to set. Once you get out of the mall, you've then got to try and find a taxi. And then you play as the taxi driver. And just like in the lorry section, it's just going to be chaos, where the taxi ride is just complete and utter chaos. But you've got like a really cool bit in the game. When you're doing the taxi, you can choose what music you drive to. Season 1, episode 9, Missing. Howard loses S Club in a card game to his cousin Hank, who runs the nearby hotel, Sunset Sands Hotel, which seems to resemble what their agent in England promised them. Now, Hank treats the band worse than Howard, and the band begins to realise that working for Howard is not as bad as they thought. With the group away from the hotel, Howard and Marvin's profits are down and they are actually missing S Club 7. So they set up another card game to win them back. I kind of want this section to be a little bit more on the chill side. Obviously, you're going to have your mini games where you're at Hank's hotel, and again, you got that really annoying task of trying to clean their hotel. But after this, you don't have to go back to the other hotel straight away because you want to go around and see Miami a little bit. You can go and have some free time on the beach. You can go and swim in the sea. You can go and make sandcastles. You can go and play frisbee. Maybe you can go cycling around the beach. You can go and take some selfies. And then you've got to try and win the card game. But this could be like as simple as playing Snap. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you can choose which card game you want to play. So I understand in the series, I think they're playing poker, I think. But just out of your choice, and I want you to have options for customizability in the game. If you want the game to be Snap, you can play Snap, or I think it's Go Fish, you can play that if you want to, or if you really like Solitaire, you can have the game as Solitaire. So you can choose whatever card game you want in this section. Season 1, Episode 10, Caught in the Act. Howard makes a sculpture of himself outside of S Club 7's dormitory, and he basically gets in trouble with Raylan Crowe. And he has to go to court. Now, the band persuade the judge to let them stay by performing, whilst Howard is fined $5,000. To raise the money, he tries to sell the statue, which crumbles around him. This is just a bit of chaos for this. I've not written a lot for this episode, but you basically get to perform in court. So you get to do a dance routine, and you can basically choose whatever dance routine you want to try and get Howard out of court. I think this is one of the favourite levels that I've got in season 1. So this is season 1, episode 11, the Bermuda Triangle. S Club 7, they're wanting a day off, so they borrow Howard's boat and they take a cruise back to the 1970s. Along the way, they meet Elvis, Madonna, and Cher before returning to 1999, where they discovered that Howard has changed. I've written so much for this level. Basically, first of all, you've got to drive to get to the boat. This is a bit of freedom. Like if you want to check the town, you can do, or again, if you want to like play on the beach, whatever you can, but make sure that the main mission is you've got to find the boat. Then you get to drive around in the boat for a bit. If you want to try and do like a couple of tricks on the boat and do some assaults, then you can do that. But then you get caught in the mist, and you then have the option to record your surroundings. So you find a camera on the boat, and just for fun, you get to basically take some pictures of your surroundings. You also get to do this when you're also traveling back in the 1970s. You go through this mist, you go back to the 1970s, and you've got to try and find the hotel. So you park up, and you realise that the hotel is a little bit different. It's got that essence of the 70s. So as little Easter eggs, it's like a little option mission. You've got to try and find Elvis, Madonna, and Cher. Another main part in this mission is to convince Catherine to fancy Howard so he isn't as horrible in the future. Play as Bradley, so you have to play as Bradley for this section, and you have to try and convince Catherine that she shouldn't fancy you. So you might have to have a multiple choice conversation to try and get Catherine to fancy Howard. Then, just for the fun of it, you get to perform as, you know, in the 1970s, and maybe when they perform, they could have like a swing or snazzy version of the S Club 7 songs. Once you've finished everything from the 1970s, you then got to drive back to the 1999 year, and you got to return to Howard, and you get to see if what you did really worked. Season 1, episode 12, How Deep Is Your Love? So the group is given a holiday when the Department of Health shuts down Howard's hotel. So they head up to Miami's Sea Aquarium to swim with dolphins. Rachel meets a photographer who reckons she would make a good model, and Paul falls for a scuba instructor, Janine. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the others are not so sure about this Janine, and they decide to see if she's dating other people, and it turns out she has also been trying to date Bradley. The main missions in this level is you get to swim with dolphins. You can spend some time like feeding them and really understanding how to care for these dolphins, and then you can take them out into the wild ocean and do some party tricks with them to the music of S Club 7. Then you get to sneak up on Janine. Now you've got to make sure that you don't get caught in this section, but you have to find out what she is up to. Now, what would make a nice reference is say that you kept the camcorder from the previous episode and you used it to take pictures that Janine is up to no good. And if you do get caught by Janine, then you have to start this whole thing again. But you get to show the evidence to Paul that Janine is not who she says she is. I just think that's just super, super spicy, and I'm here for it. Season 1, episode 13. So with their contract with Howard is about to end and their deal with their old manager now expired, the gang look back over the time that they have had in Miami. They have lunch with Jill Ward, who was apparently the star of Alien Hunter, who advises them to travel to Los Angeles to make a name for themselves. Howard has a realization that maybe he was a little too hard on S Club 7 and tries to apologize, and he tries to persuade them to stay. They obviously refuse because they feel like they're not going to be going anywhere on their S Club journey. And this is kind of like the chance that you're going to say goodbye to Howard, and I bet people playing the game might be thinking, thank God for that. So this is going to be your very last chance to explore Miami. So if there's anything that you've not explored yet or any activities that you would like to do, this is the opportunity to do it now. And whilst you're doing this, the main mission is to find Jill at the hotel. Is it Tides? I think it's Hotel Tides. Could be wrong on that. Basically, she then tells you, like, you need to go to Los Angeles and you need to really venture out and find out who you are as a band. Then you have to go back to your hotel and you need to make sure that you have every single item that you packed originally, and you need to make sure that you don't miss anything. You could also do some like final checks on the car, you know, to make sure that it's got enough petrol and things like that. But that can also be a chilled experience as well. You say bye-bye to Miami and you make your way to Los Angeles. Season 1, episode 14, back to the 50s. So the group begin their journey to Los Angeles from Miami. After accidentally coming across a time portal, they find a town in the 1950s which is being dominated by a gang. When you're traveling from Miami to Los Angeles, you know, you can take that at leisure as long as you find the time portal. I feel like it'll be a really cool opportunity. I've not mentioned this yet, but maybe you collect certain tokens in the game can let you watch some of the clips from the TV series. Like in the Bratz games, you collect certain items to then watch, you know, cinema clips from the films, and maybe we should do the same thing for the S Club 7 video game. You travel to the 1950s and you're basically going to end up in a 1950s disco. So you get to play games of bowling, you get to make your own milkshakes, you get to design your own 1950s outfit, and there could be like a free roam element where you explore the town and you can buy clothes from the 1950s and still take them with you throughout the game. Then you've got to have a dance off with this gang who are trying to like intimidate and bully everybody, and obviously you want to make sure that you win that. And then as you're driving about in the 1950s, they could have like a 50s version of all the songs. This is the final episode of season 1. So it's season 1, episode 15. It's called Boyfriends and Birthdays. S Club take a rest stop at a trailer park near Paradise Beach in Small Town, where they meet a family who live in an RV. They discover that the father may or may not arrive at his son's birthday party. So S Club are trying to make sure that this lad has the best party ever. During this, Rachel receives a call from her boyfriend back home who asks her to choose him or the group. You want to make sure that this birthday party is really, really special. You get to rehearse to do a performance, like a birthday performance for this lad's party. You get to design the birthday cake, like you get to put all the icing on, you get to choose what flavour the birthday cake is, how many candles are on it, all that sort of stuff. You also get to decide where the decorations are being placed. And in order to do this, you also need to find items in the RV van. For example, party poppers, candles, tablecloths, and banners. And then once you have got everything ready, you then get to perform at this birthday party and everybody just has a great time. And that is the end of season 1, S Club Miami. I wonder how long this section is. I bet this first episode bit is about 15 minutes in total, but I'll see when I edit it all. But next, we have got season 2, Los Angeles. Just before we get started on season 2, if you are enjoying this video, make sure you give us a subscribe on YouTube, as I am planning to do more videos like this. And make sure you give us a like, give us a share, And if you think about any media that you think should have been turned into a video game, let me know in the comments below. So, season 2, episode 1, Into the Unknown. So, this actually came out on April the 6th, 2000. So, S Club are driving across America to get into Hollywood. So, they encounter a magical washroom and haunted woods along the way. Now, I will be honest, I did focus more on sort of the open world aspect for this. This bit, because you're traveling to a brand new location, I want this to be really open world and chill. So you can choose which route that you want to go down to get to your next location. You know, you can take in the scenery in the game, and you can also select which song you want to play in the car as well. And you know, you could just have a little bit of a sing song. But the next place you need to get to is Los Angeles. Season 2, Episode 2. So S Club 7 are really skint now, and they see an ad in a gas station to work as a counsellor in a private school. When you're driving to your next location, you need to go to the gas station to find the ad. And then once you find the ad, you then have got to go to the private school and you need to just try and get a little bit of money. Now, from what I've seen in the episode, it's basically like a little summer camp, but maybe there's different activities that you can do. So maybe, right, when I was a kid, I went to this thing called Water Park. It was basically like this big mansion, right? And what we had to do is learn some skills. So we had to do like a bit of gill scrambling, we had to do a bit of rock climbing, we had to hold a little talent show, like a scavenger hunt. So maybe they can do things like this in the game, and then at the end they will get their money. Maybe they could just do some other activities like cooking in the kitchen, or maybe doing a paint class or a dance class. I think the head of the school is kind of not liking what you're doing, but the kids are really enjoying it. So you just do whatever you can to make sure that the kids have a great time, and then you get your cash at the end and you can move on with your S Club 7 adventures. Season 2, Episode 3, Hello Hollywood. So the kids finally make it to Los Angeles, but because they have not a lot of money, Jo is then forced to trade her car. Bradley then gets run over by rollerblading and is run over by Johnny Witherspoon, it says brackets Linda Blair, who gives the kids a place to stay for free. So there could be a mini game like so. I don't know if you've played the Little Britain game, right? But the very first level is where you are Vicky Pollard and you have to do roller skating and you have to do all these sort of tricks and you've got to avoid the obstacles. And this game was really hard to do, but it was a lot of fun. But maybe there could be a similar sort of game where Bradley is doing a lot of roller skating. Then there's a cut scene. Bradley gets hit by Joni or Johnny. I said Johnny at first, but I think it's Joni. And then she feels really bad. So the cutscene where, you know, you go to her house and you then just get to explore her house. For example, you could just go in a fridge and just find ingredients and just cook yourself some food. So you can make a pizza or some chips or something. This could just maybe just be a little bit more of a chilled section. And maybe you could just have some fun by rearranging her house. Maybe this could be another sandbox section. Maybe she's like, you can stay as long as you keep my house clean and maybe just give it a little bit of a refurbishment. So maybe this could be a time where you just get to do a little bit of a sandbox mode, because we've not had much of that yet in this game. So season 2, episode 4, Hannah is a bad tour guide, but makes a tour guide arrest of a burglar breaking into a movie star's home. Joni needs a fake boyfriend and the group volunteers Paul. Now, with this one, I have just mainly focused on the burglary. This is giving me such Sims vibes. The aim of the level is S Club 7 have to stop the burglar at the movie star's house. They have to find the burglar in a time limit. Maybe in different parts of the house, you need to find evidence as to where the burglar could be hiding and what he is trying to steal. So you could go into the lounge and maybe you find a burglar's hat, or maybe this could be a stereotypical burglar that you see in cartoons where they have the striped jumper, the mask, they've got the black cap, and they've got like the big money bag thing, and they're like sneaking around like this. Like it could just be so stereotypical burglar. But yeah, maybe you have to go into different rooms and find different evidence in a time limit. Maybe certain items could have dropped out of the burglar's bag. Maybe it's like, oh, I found a ring at the bottom of the stairs. Maybe the burglar has gone upstairs. Season 2, Episode 5, The News. So Paul dates a newsreader, Linda Lewis, who starts changing him. Hannah and Tina pretend to be surfers. The gang gets a gig after a surfing contest. So you can imagine that the main focus on this part of the game is to just do some surfing practice. You've got like a tutorial where you get to understand the base game and you've got to learn how to do all these amazing tricks. But if you don't press the right buttons for certain parts, you fall off your surfboard. So once you've done the tutorial, you then have to do a contest, and you need to try and win the money, because if you don't, you're going to have to do the contest all over again. Season 2, Episode 6, The Prom. So the group decide that their current agent isn't great, so Joni recommends a better one. But Rachel actually needs to go on a date, so she can't go. But Hannah, Joe and Tina take the son, so Billy, to the prom. So you get to decide what Joe, Tina and Hannah get to wear. You can make their prom dresses as beautiful as you like. And then they have to do a little dance performance in the prom. But the son just gets overwhelmed and he's like, nope, no thank you. Yeah, so the main focus on that one is just basically just to get over the prom. Season 2, Episode 7, House Sitting. The kids struggle to pay rent to Joni. I don't know when they decided this, because originally they got to stay for free, and now they're like, right, well, even though I hurt you, Bradley, you still have to pay rent. But anyhow, she gets Rachel, Joe and Paul a house-sitting job at a mansion. It's luxurious and boring. They invite the others, but it gets out of control. So you get to explore this mansion inside out. You go in the bedroom and you can just jump on the mattress and things like that. You can do like somersaults or whatever. You get to go through the drawers, see if there's like anything awesome in there. You can go in the kitchen. Maybe you can start a food fight, or you could just help yourself to the fridge. Or you could go in the garden and, make the most of their swimming pool, maybe learn how to do some diving tricks off the diving board. And maybe you can just go around, have pillow fights and just cause absolute havoc. I mean, they're bored at the end of the day, so they've got to find their way to have some fun. So I think that the player of the game should also have a little bit of fun as well. Season 2, Episode 8, Mr. Muscle. Paul annoys everybody with his documentary filming. Tina teaches at Muscle Beach and falls for Ryan. Rachel gets John in trouble by challenging to bully to arm wrestle, who happens to be Ryan. This could be like a bit like The Sims, where Tina's got to build a relationship with Ryan, and you've got to make sure that you pick the right choice. Otherwise, Ryan's going to be like, I don't want to spend time with you. Obviously, it'll cut to John doing an arm wrestle. I feel like this will be one of those games where, say you've got the controller and you've got the left analog stick, and you've got to like wiggle it at a certain point, a certain speed, because if you don't wiggle it in time, like, you are not going to win this arm wrestle. I don't know if there is any games that exist that requires you to arm wrestle. Does that exist? I don't know. You've also got the side where you can play as Paul, and I want this to be sort of a chilled section as well. Even though everybody seems to get annoyed with Paul for filming everything, I want you to go and take pictures of the game and the scenery. I was thinking about this, but obviously in the first season you've got the camcorder, and maybe that just kind of carries over right through the adventure side of the game. At the end of the game, you can just look through the photo album and you can see how many photos you've taken throughout your game. So that might be a really nice reflection moment. So you can just go, do you know what? I really enjoyed the S Club 7 video game. Season 2, Episode 10, Game Boy. So Joni gets Rachel, Joe and Hannah and audition to be one of 3 cosplay video game promoters. Bradley gets obsessed with a video game. So it doesn't. I don't think I actually found what the game was that they're playing, but maybe this could be a section where you can choose what you cosplay as. So it has to be video game based. I think it would be really funny if you had references to other game characters. So could you imagine, one of the characters being dressed up as Crash Bandicoot mascot, or wearing Lara Croft's outfit, or dressed as Spyro, things like that. I think it would just be really nice to have little Easter eggs of other video games. There could just be a little section where Bradley just gets his Game Boy out and you can choose which of the mini games that you want to play as well. It's just that could be just like a little side thing that you can do. Maybe say if the game had sort of like a trophy section that you could play on the PS5 or whatever, you might get a trophy for playing all the games on the mini Game Boy. Also, once you have chosen your cosplay outfit, you then have to kind of have a dance off to see who is going to be the best cosplayer. I know this would be slightly irrelevant, but say you could choose S Club Music if you wanted to, but say if you were to wear a mascot of like Crash Bandicoot, you could choose to dance to the Crash Bandicoot music. You could be like da 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 da, or say one of the characters is dressed as Lara Croft, and you've got that Lara Croft one main theme tune. I was like da 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 da. Yeah, but they could do it as like a ballet, a Lara Croft ballet. I would go and watch that. Season 2, episode 11, Making Movies. So Joni is furious at the kids for attracting ants into the apartment and being dumped by her boyfriend. The kids decide to make their own movie. This could be a really, really annoying task where the band have to find every single ant. Right, me and my sister. So my mum and dad went away on holiday, and me and my sister hid 100 tiny ducks around the house. I think they found about 95 of them. I think there's 5 left that they've still not found. But maybe it could be that sort of thing with this mini game, and they have to find the ants in like really obscure places. And I think the player gets to choose whether this is a time challenge or if they just want to do it on their own accord. Once you have collected all 100 ants, let's say, you then have to let them free into the garden. I've put here cheer up Joni, so maybe you could have like a little S Club party to cheer her up. With this, it's a bit obscure, but I've played games before where there was I can't remember which Flash game it was. It was either like Barbie or something like that, where you got to choose clips and you got to make your own little movie. Well, maybe they could do that in this game. From what I got it, I've got the link. So, say you've taken videos on Paul's camcorder, you can go into your photo album and you can use those photos to make the movie. Yes, that makes total sense. Do you know what? I write stuff down and then I get these like ideas coming up from my head. I'm like, yes, that links with that. Great. Season 2, episode 12. Working. The kids blow out the power. Oh, that means all the electricity has gone out. The neighbours are not happy. They need $200 to fix it before Joni finds out. So this one has to be done in a time limit. You're going to find some torches, or you're going to use torches on your phone. I know that might be a little bit modern for the 2000s, but for the sake of the game being made in current time, they're going to have torches on their phone. And what they're going to have to do is navigate around the house, and they have to find £200. So this could be very, very similar to like the ants mini game, but instead it's money. If you're feeling a certain way out, maybe there could be a fun little trial thing that you can do, is where you've got to find the burglar that you were trying to find earlier on and ask very nicely if you could have some of their money, and you have to bargain with the burglar or make a deal, and then they will give you some of that money. You've got that option of either trying to find the £200 in Joni's flat, or you can go and find the burglar that you met earlier to try and get some of that cash. Season 2, episode 13, Goodbye Hollywood. So the S Club gang become very depressed when their manager fails to find them any acting or singing assignments. Joni accepts a marriage proposal from her new boyfriend and decides to sell her apartment building, leaving the band with no place to live. The S-Clubbers wonder if they should hit the road again since they have not found fame and fortune in Los Angeles. So I'll be honest, I've not written much for these next 2 episodes, but I have written that maybe they've got to have a conversation and it's multiple choice and the player has to decide what answers they're going to choose. And if they choose the wrong answers, then, they have to restart the whole conversation again because, we don't want them to finish. We want to carry on with the series and the video game. But yeah, I haven't got anything for season 2, episode 14. So we're going to get on to season 2, episode 15, the S Club 7 Christmas special. So with the group feeling homesick for Christmas, they decide to take on a Christmas job as Santa and the elves. They also try and decide whether they want to go back to England, but then Hannah, Bradley and Paul are involved in a car accident, which gives the band a little bit of a dilemma whether they go back home or stay in LA. The main missions in this level is you're going to find the mall, so you're going to have a leisurely drive to the mall. This is before the accident happens, and you get to perform as Christmas elves. But you get to choose the costumes that they wear. So maybe the idea is Christmas elves, but maybe you can be like, right, I want to dress one of the band members as a reindeer or a snowman or a gingerbread man, like you could just have a little bit of fun and creativity with that. But then after that, you find out that an accident has happened and you've got to try and drive to the hospital as fast as you can because you want to make sure that your friends are okay. And this will be a time limit. So you're going to have, again, obstacles in the road. And if you don't get to the hospital in time, then you have to start that bit again. Then you realise that Paul is not feeling very well and you want to make sure that he has the best Christmas. So you take a bit of time out to go and buy him a Christmas present. And you could choose whatever Christmas present that he would like. So obviously you've got to take into account that you don't have a lot of money, but I think the game would be kind of make everything like really, really cheap. Like you could make a really nice Christmas hamper or something like that. So that is the end of season 2, which is S Club Los Angeles. So we're around about halfway through the TV series. I hope you're really, really enjoying this so far. I'm really enjoying taking a deep dive, and I'm also enjoying the fact that I'm kind of getting new ideas on the way. So yeah, I hope you still stick around for the next 2 seasons, and let's continue. So next we are going to get on to season 3, which is S Club 7 Hollywood. So this is season 3, episode 1, The Last Chance. S Club 7 decide to give themselves 24 hours to find a manager, or they will split up and return to England. Ooh, the stakes have gone up, haven't they? So while searching, Joe and Bradley pay for the help of Mystic Pete, who tells them that they will find success at the place where the big silver birds go to die. Oh my God, that's brilliant. Meanwhile, an unsuccessful manager, Dean Strickland, is given 24 hours to find talent. Otherwise, he's going to have to also give up his career. He then also goes to Mystic Pete and they tell him to go to the same location. Luckily, Tina saves Dean from a thief stealing his watch, and so the gang end up coming into contact with him. I'm already thinking that burglar should be the same burglar that we've encountered throughout this game. So this burglar just needs to be like a running theme throughout the game. They start again on their travels, so again you get to do a nice chill drive to the next location. So you're going like further into Hollywood. And their main goal for this is they need to find Mystic Pete. So I believe that you play as Joe and Bradley for this. So you can choose whether you play as Joe or Bradley, and you've got to find Mystic Pete, and then there'll be a cutscene of where they need to go next. I've also written here there'll be 3 separate time challenges. You've got to find Mystic Pete as Paul, Tina and Rachel, and then you've got to obviously find Pete as Bradley and Joe, and then you've got to find them as Hannah and John. So you've got 3 separate time challenges, and maybe one of them is harder than the other. And there could be a Temple Run styled theme for each of the members of the group, but they get harder and harder as they go along. So not only will they have the time travel to find Mystic Pete, and they'll also need to find Dean Strickland, who is the producer who is about to lose his job as well. And then the group gathers back together and they realize that they need to go to this location, which is the Big Silver Birds Go to Die. So you play as S Club 7, but then maybe you have to change to Dean Strickland and also drive as him to get to the same location. And then you finish that section with an S Club 7 performance dancing on the planes. Season 3, Episode 2, Dosh. So, feeling sad, the group are cheered up when they get their first paycheck. Apart from Joe, who decides to save hers, and the rest of the group just go and spend their cash. So Hannah buys some fish. Bradley tries to impress a girl. Paul buys some new water equipment. John gets a year's pass for Universal Studios. Tina pays for a $600 dance class. Rachel buys some new clothes. But they come to realise that each member of the band is getting a completely different paycheck, and they have to confront Dean about this, and apparently their wage is based on their popularity. This is going to be a really, really, really chilled section, and you get to play as each character. I don't think we've had much yet where you do get to play as each individual character to buy what you need. So we're going to do that. Hannah goes to the pet shop to buy a fish, but you can go and feed other animals as well. So I feel like you'll be able to find a store and it's going to be like the biggest pet shop that you've ever seen in a video game. And you can spend time going to pet these animals, you can go and feed them, you can play with them. Like, for example, you just see, I know you don't usually get a capybara in a pet shop, but for this game, we're having a capybara in a pet shop. So, like, you're like, oh my God, capybara, that's so cute. I want to spend time with the capybara. And then you can just, groom it and make it look really pretty. Maybe you can, like, add a bow on it or something, Let's just have some fun with it. But eventually, you do need to go and buy a goldfish. And then you can name the goldfish and maybe you can teach it different tricks in the water tank. Who knows? I mean, there is so much that's gone on with this game. I mean, anything is possible. Then you've got Bradley, who just goes and buys a car and goes roller skating. Okay, so you just go and buy a car, but maybe you can customize the car as you want to, and you can put like S Club 7 on the doors or something like that. And then you could just go and chill and do some roller skating. Why not? You can play as Paul, who gets water equipment, where he likes to buy shirts and a surfboard. So you can go to the beach as Paul and you can go and learn some surf tricks. And you never know, you might also be in a contest and win a couple of dollars. John then buys a year pass for Universal. So then you can spend some time on the roller coasters and you can go and buy sweets. It would basically just be like a big Disneyland experience. I've never been to Universal Studios, but I presume it's a similar sort of energy. So yeah, you could just go to roller coasters. Maybe you can watch a film. So maybe there's like a cinema that you can go and watch some of the clips from the TV series. And maybe you can go and buy some merch that you can take back with you and you can wear that throughout the game. Tina then does a dance rehearsal, so you can do some dance routines with Tina. Maybe this is like a mini rhythm game. You can choose what outfit you wear and then you can do some dance routines. Rachel is giving, I have played the Bratz on the PS2, so I'm going to go and do some clothes shopping. Maybe you could do some clothes design as well whilst you're there. And maybe there could just be like some puns of different shops. Or you could bring back shops that don't exist anymore, like Tammy Girl. Rachel Stevens going to Tammy Girl in the S Club 7 video game. That it has to happen. But the final person that you play as in this is Joe. And she needs to try and find her bandmates, and she ends up finding them in a restaurant. At this point, there's going to be a cutscene where they confront Dean about pay, and then he explains that it is down to popularity. Oh, there's also a bit as well, which isn't mentioned in the little synopsis of the episode, But there'll be a small cutscene where John is out on a date with Annie and she's convinced him to do some stunts because she is injured. Now, when I watched this episode, John doesn't actually do any of the stunts, but in the video game, John is going to be the best stuntsman that you have ever seen in your life. So he's going to be doing cartwheels and backflips and all sorts of like really random poses in the air. And he's also just going to get a little bit of money for risking his life. Also doesn't mention this in the synopsis, but I have watched the episode. So Hannah and Rachel are really not impressed that, they're getting different wages because of their popularity. So Hannah and Rachel have to sneak into Hollywood Media Group to get into Strickland's laptop to change the results for the focus group. So maybe you have to do this in a certain time limit, and you've got to find clues in the office as to what the password is. And if you don't do it in the right amount of time, you obviously get caught and you have to start the whole thing again. You get this idea that you have to find snacks that you have to give to the people in the focus group, so then you think that you're going to get a higher score. But in the episode, they do get caught, but in the game, they don't get caught. There is quite a lot in that episode. I do want it to be a mixture of a chilled vibe, but also a bit of fun sneaking around in the office. I do like the sneaking elements of this game. It's just a little bit of fun in it. Season 3, Episode 3, Public Relations. With publicity running dry, Dean hires an expert who sets up some attention-grabbing publicity stunts. Many of them are consisted with contrived stories, and the plan doesn't go very well, and Rachel and Hannah get a real shock on the Jerry Springer type show. Tina has to deal with some painful lies about plastic surgery, and John has been matched up with a fake girlfriend. Do you see what I mean about how they just have drama all the time? I'll tell you what the publicity stunts are. So Bradley and Paul get sponsorships. The girls end up having to do some publicity stunt with magazines, and John gets a high-profile romance with a person called Jewel Twang. There's a scene in the episode where Joe walks out of the door and there's loads of paparazzi, and this woman pretends to be her long-lost mother. And I was about to say, Joe goes, "I'm not your mother." "Oh, yes, I am." But that's his standards. But the aim of the game is to just try and get through the paparazzi. Like, they're all like trying to stop you from getting out. But then you're also being chased by this person that's pretending to be your long lost mother. And if you don't get out in time, then you have to do the whole thing again. So then Hannah and Rachel end up on the Jeffrey Swinger show. And this is a disaster because Frank claims to date Rachel, claims to also date Hannah, and somehow their twin brother Mikey is also involved in this. Maybe this is one where you have to try and escape the stage as Rachel and Hannah, and the presenter's trying to stop you, the twin brothers are trying to stop you, the audience and the cameramen, and they are just not making it easy for you to get out of that studio. But then Rachel and Hannah get their own back, and they get to start throwing popcorn at everybody. They're like, you tried to stop us getting out. We're just going to throw popcorn all over you. And it's just like a little mini game just to transition into the next lot of drama. The paparazzi really like to harass S Club 7 in this episode. And Tina has to pretend to have this storyline that she's had plastic surgery. Now, she doesn't want to say she's had plastic surgery because she hasn't had it. So again, she could be then being chased by paparazzi, and maybe she's being chased by plastic surgeons as well. This whole level is basically just everybody trying to run away. And then you've got the situation with John where he's on a date with that girl that he doesn't like, Jewel Twang. And you have to have a multiple choice conversation, and you have to try and get out of it. And if you make the wrong choice, then you have to stay with Jewel Twang for even longer than you want to. And I know that Bradley and Paul do have a sponsorship in this episode, but I couldn't really find a way to make that into part of the video game. But I just want to let you know that have noticed that I've not mentioned much about the Bradley and Paul situation in this episode, but that is just because I was just struggling to get a little bit of inspiration for that part. Season 3, episode 4, Doing the Deal. Dean tells the band that if they are unable to get a record deal, then they're gonna have to part ways. So Dean gets busy and he sends out demos to various record companies. And Dean actually tells S Club to wait in the house just to keep an eye on the phone. So they wait for this phone call, they pick up the phone, and it's like, you might have a chance to get a deal here, but you're gonna have to perform first. And Hannah and Joe fall out over a boy Hannah wants to break up with due to the fact that Joe considers her predictable. So first of all, you have to play as Dean and you have to go to different studios to hand out their demos. So there could be like 10 different places that you have to go, and maybe you get to drive your own car and you get to drive to these studios. This one will be a time limit as obviously the pressure is on to try and get S Club 7 a record deal. When S Club 7 then get into the studio, they have to perform their song and you have to get 95% of the dance game correct. So you must press the buttons in time to get that record deal. In the meantime, whilst you're waiting for a phone call to see if you've got a record deal or not, this could just be a time to spend in the house. You know, make some food if you're hungry, make yourself a drink. Maybe you can make yourself a fancy mocktail if you want to. Or if you feel like you want to just go for a nap like we all do, then you can go and have a nap. If you feel like you want to have a tidy around the house, that is a option as well. You know, you could choose to put some music on the CD player. Maybe there's actually a games console in the house and you get to play like mini games on the console. Then you're waiting for a phone call to see if you've got the record deal. They do sort of get a record deal, but then they have to do another performance and they decide to perform Don't Stop Moving. Season 3, episode 5, The Kiss made me gag when I watched it back. So I watched this episode a few months ago and I was like, I didn't know that happened. So they get the record deal and then they're going to throw a massive, massive party. And, you know, they're going to be in like their best attire. They've just had an amazing, amazing announcement. So they want to have the biggest party ever. And maybe you need to have time to prepare the party. And, you know, you get to decorate the venue as you want to. Then when you're at the party, you get to explore, you get to talk to different guests that are there, find out their backstory. You can get food, you can get drinks. Maybe there's a bit where, you know, you can get a little bit tipsy and maybe like your visions will be like, woo, but obviously not getting too drunk or anything, but it's like you're having a drink and you're having a good time. This is the bit that made me go, oh, you as Paul or Hannah, you have a deep conversation and the aim of the game is to kiss each other. When they kissed each other, when I watched the episode, I was like, oh, I didn't know they had a little kiss in the series. This is quite juicy, isn't it? And then obviously after that, you get to then perform at the party. There is also one other bit which I think is really nice, and I believe it's this episode where Joe finds a dog and she ends up bringing it in. And then you have to look after the dog. So throughout the game, you know, you have to make sure that the dog is fed and watered and groomed and make sure that you play with the dog as well. Season 3, episode 6, The Fan. On the set of their first music video, the group have a director who wants to take the video in many different directions. He just cannot make up his mind, and the group adopts some strange costumes, such as the yin and yang theme, cowboys and cowgirls, and devils and angels. In the end, the group decide to make their own music video featuring new footage at the beach and old footage from the video shoot. Then there's also a fan that becomes super obsessive with S Club 7. First, you know, you can get them into their costumes. Maybe you can customize it a little bit as long as it's sticking with the themes of like either the yin and yang or the cowboys. And you've got to follow the director for the music video. So you might have to do a dance rhythm game for this one. You can also choose which band member that you want to be for this. So say if you've got the cowboy section, you can play as John, or if you've got the devils and angels, you can then play as Tina. You get to choose. And with this, you then get Paul's camcorder back out and you can get even more footage for your own music video. So you can use stuff that you've obviously captured previously, but I feel like there needs to be another mission where you do get brand new footage. Maybe you have to find certain items for this music video, but then you get free reign and you can take whatever video footage you like. Now, in the music video, in the episode, there are sections with the beach. You can drive a buggy. They choose their own outfits and they do like a bit of horse riding. So we should obviously incorporate that into this level. So when you're recording footage, you get to drive the beach buggy. And maybe there's a bit where you have to make a sandcastle. We're just going to have sandcastles in this game. Then you've got this crazy, crazy fan who just won't leave you alone. And first you act as Bradley and you've got to run away from this crazy fan. Then Rachel tries to stop this crazy fan, but then you act as Rachel and you then have to run away from the crazy fan as well. So it's all been happening in this one. So season 3, episode 7, which is the cousin, I've not written anything about this. It was just a little bit tricky to try and get this one into a video game, but it's basically the episode is all around about Hannah's cousin, and I think he's actually trying to be a con artist or something like that. Season 3, episode 8, The Stylist. Dean decides that S Club 7 need a complete makeover, so he wants to create a new identity for the band. And the group do not like this and they decide to rebel. You get to play as Dean and he gets to do the customizations for what the S Club 7 band are going to wear, and all this stuff is just like really, really old and really not fitting to what S Club 7 is all about. So then with this, you get to rebel. So you get to design your own clothes then. So you're kind of thinking, well, you want a new identity, but it's going to be on our own terms. So then you get to design the clothes for your new branding. So once you have put your foot down, you're then going to find Television City and you're going to then perform to, I think it's the biggest stage that they have performed at yet. This is going to be a melody of a few different songs because this is going to be one of their biggest performances. So previously in our game idea, they've usually done one song and then moved on. But because this one's like a pretty big moment for them, they're going to do like a melody mashup performance. Season 3, episode 9, Alone Again. The manager, Dean, is sacked by the record company for being too old, and the future of S Club 7 is looking bleak. The group have to risk everything in order to get him back, or else it could once again mean the end for S Club. Meanwhile, Rachel is traumatized after discovering that she's got a grey hair. She becomes convinced that she's aging prematurely. You get to this new record studio and you have to perform this song, and this song is going to be a little bit harder than the other ones because you're trying to get a new deal. In this new record studio, you're going to record a song for the new manager instead of Dean. So you're going to go to this new studio, so you're going to drive there and you're going to perform and record your newest single for this new manager. And what makes this one really challenging when you're trying to perform the best is that this manager keeps interrupting you. And maybe because he keeps interrupting you, again, this may distort the track. Like it may, go higher in pitch or lower in pitch. Maybe the track goes in reverse and it just sounds like completely wrong. Then you play as Joe and John and you're trying to find Dean. You're really, really not happy what's going on with your situation. And you need to try and find Dean just so you can get back on track. And you try and find him and he is growing flowers out of a trailer. And there's a cut scene where you're like, what are you doing? Like, you can't just be here just growing plants. You need to help us make music. And then you decide to go on strike because you're really not happy with this new management. So then it gets to the point where they end up barricading themselves in their house so they can stay at the rented property. So you need to find ways that nobody can get in. This can be either a time challenge or you don't have to have it as a time challenge, but you just need to find like blocks of wood from in the garden and then you've got to like nail it to the inside of the doors. You've got to make sure that you wrap the locks around your windows, close the curtains, make sure that you have turned all your music off in the flat. Then you need to hide the dog, because if the dog starts barking, they're going to know that you're in that house. So make sure you hide the dog in a good place. And if you don't do a good enough job in barricading yourselves in, then your house gets broken into and you get kicked out and it's game over. But if you succeed, you get a knock on the door by Dean, and he tells you to get back in that studio, and then you record a new song, and you're really happy that Dean is now back in the picture. Season 3, episode 10, supporting parts. So S Club 7 are basically asked to be the supporting act for a massive Latino superstar, Miguel Delgado, who the 4 S Club girls are a huge fan of him, but they accidentally knock him out. First of all, you've got to do like the rehearsals for this show. You know, you come out of backstage, and this is when you accidentally knock out Miguel, and you've got this mini game where you have to drag him backstage, but you have to drag him by his feet, and it's just like a really, really slow and frustrating mini game, but you have to do it to progress. Then once you've got Miguel backstage, you then have to perform your big melody, which you can choose the songs which you want in the melody, but you've got to get something like 98% of the rhythm correct. Season 3, episode 11, The Vanishing. So after ruining Miguel's concert and make him lose his memory, the group decides to hang low. They try and hide out in a dirty motel. And then finding themselves broke, they send Hannah and John back to the apartment in a disguise. The main things for this is they have to try and run out of the venue as fast as they can, and they need to get to their car. If they don't find their car in time, then they just get swarmed by fans and they can't get to the motel, and then the fans will find out what has happened to Miguel. Once you get into the motel, there's going to be a cutscene and you're going to discuss what they're going to do. Like, we can't hang low forever. And this is when you get to dress John and Hannah as a disguise. And at this point, you get to decide what their disguise is. But you must then get back to their apartment that they were staying at originally. And again, you have to do this in a time limit, otherwise your cover is blown. So when you have got the money back from your place that you're originally at, you're thinking, I feel really guilty. We need to apologize to Miguel. So then you need to drive to Miguel's, let's say, house. You find out where he lives, or say if you find out he's living in a certain hotel, you've got to go and apologize to him. And again, this could be like a multiple choice situation, so you've got to make the right conversation choices, because if you don't, Miguel will just be absolutely fuming and he will tell the whole world what you did to him. But if you make the right choice, then you'll be forgiven and you'll be moved on to the next level. Season 3, episode 12, The Concert. So the group have landed a concert where they have to perform in front of 12,000 people next week. Rachel gets extremely nervous and starts to have stage fright, and Tina fears that she may lose her voice on stage. But when it comes to performance, they manage to get over their nerves and perform to their best. There isn't really much in this level, but we are getting to that point now where we're starting to get to the end of the season, and we're about to get to the final season. So we want to make sure that these performances are huge. What I might add for this one is that you get to choose what the stage looks like. So you get to choose what's on the curtains, you get to choose the flooring, you get to choose what songs you play. And so I played Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses, and there was a bit where you can choose the lights that go on display. And I think it would be a really nice feature if you could choose what lights then get projected onto S Club 7 when they're performing in front of 12,000 people. Then it's the final episode of season 3. So this is season 3, episode 13, The Return. They have finally broken America, and S Club 7 are now being sent to do some more international promotion work. They are so excited at the fact that they get to go home after a few months in the USA. And this is just kind of an episode to reflect everything that they have done in America. So back in one of the first episodes that I was talking about, they get on a plane and then they do, some parachuting to get to America. We're going to do the same for England. So again, we're going to have a party on the plane, because you've had a huge success. Again, you get to cause chaos on the plane, and then you get to skydive or parachute back to London. Then you overhear the radio show with the fact that S Club 7 have now gone huge, and now they have to hide because they, have to hide from all the crazy fans because they're so big now and they're not used to this sort of crazy fame. So you need to find perfect places to hide. And then just before you go back to England, so I'm going a little bit back and forth of this episode, but you get to do the final tour around America before you head back to England. So this again could be a really, really chilled session where, you get to go around all of America. Maybe there could be a section where you turn on your map and you get to sort of fast travel to different locations if there's certain bits that you miss. And then once you've done everything there, you then go back to London. And this is the end of season 3, S Club Hollywood. We're on season 4, baby! I can't believe how much we have covered in this video. Like, I have no idea how long this video is going to be until I edit it all down. But just to give you an idea of how long so far it's taken me to film today. So I started at 12 o'clock and what time is it now? It's nearly 7 o'clock. And I think the last part of filming is probably going to take me about half an hour. So yeah, thank you so much if you're still at this point watching. I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, I hope you're really, really enjoying the deep dive of what if S Club 7 made a video game. So the last one, the last season is called S Club 7 Viva Barcelona. So this is season 4, episode 1, The Fame in Spain. So S Club have a new manager. I think you pronounce the name as Mr. Welderbaum. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And they decide to send the group to Barcelona in Spain to write their new album. They will meet Lyle, who works for the record company, and Maria, their very own housekeeper. The group feel a bit disappointed that after the success in the US, no one knows who they are in Spain. Bradley soon threatens to leave the group to become a painter, and the future of the band is in doubt. Woof! It's not a good start for season 4, is it? Throughout the seasons, we've had episodes where they've travelled by plane and then they've either done a bit of skydiving and parachuting to get to the next location. So they get back on the plane to Barcelona and then they parachute into the train station when they get into Spain. So they could have some extra funny visuals where when they're falling down from the sky, they see suitcases opening and just bits of clothes just fall out of the suitcase. And maybe whilst they're going down to the train station, they have to try and grab like shoes and clothes and bags and all the different stuff that you would pack on your holidays. Then the next thing is you've got to try and find Lyle in the train station. And once you find him, there will be a cutscene about where you're going to next. We're then going to take a nice chilled drive through Barcelona and you are going to try and find your villa. When you get to the villa, you will meet your very own housekeeper, Maria. This is the time where you can take in the locations. Maybe you can have little conversations with Maria and Lyle to get to know them a little bit better. And what's different about this villa is you've got things like hammocks. So, you can go onto the veranda and you can chill in your hammock and you can just look around the scenery of the game. And then you'll have a bit where all the band members need to come together and they're going to try and discuss what their next plan is. Like, how are they going to get their music out in Barcelona? So to get that inspiration, you're then going to travel around Barcelona and you're going to take Paul's camcorder again and you're going to take pictures to get inspiration. So you're going to look for landmarks like the Walking Lizard and the Parc Güell in Barcelona. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And then you're going to go to town and you're going to do a little dance and a little performance to get a feeling what Barcelona is all about. So you get to do tricks. Maybe Bradley brought his roller skates to Barcelona and decides to do a bit of roller skating. I mean, why not? It's like the Bratz game where you press R1 and you can just have your roller skates out. Maybe when you play as Bradley, you just get to do that all the time. You also have a part of the game where Bradley wants to become a painter, and maybe you can spend a bit of time. You get your easel, you take it onto the veranda, and you could just paint for a little bit. You could just paint whatever you want. It doesn't matter if it's fantastic, but at least you get the time to do a little bit of painting. And then you can show your paintings to all the S Club members, and they will try and persuade you not to become a painter. Even if you are the best painter in the world, S Club 7 want you to be part of the band. Season 4, Episode 2, A Problem Like Maria. So the band find it difficult to settle into the Spanish life. Tina misses LA. Lyle gets upset when they try to give him a few pointers on how to do his job. And Maria starts to behave a little bit differently. The group finds out that she's had multiple jobs and she feels like the wage isn't big enough for her. So the group try and find ways on how to get her paid more money. You're going to have little situations where you are walking around the villa and you find Maria just sleeping in a bowl of paella, because that's what happens in the episode. But then you play as Rachel and Hannah again, because they're going to be doing some more sneaking. They get to follow Maria and they try and find out what's going on. Like, why is Maria falling asleep in paella? And then that's when you discover that she has several jobs and she is clearly not getting paid enough. You do sneak through, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Barcelona Escasio de Franca. I'm sure that was pronounced correctly. And then you find her in the train station as a train attendant. So you find out she's a housekeeper, a conductor, and then you follow her into a club where she plays maracas and gets paid for playing maracas. So once you find out what's going on with Maria, you obviously have a discussion with the band on how you can get her more money. Maybe there's a scene or a part of the level where you go around Barcelona and try and pick up bits of money from the ground, and that's what you give to Maria. Then you get to rehearse at La Paloma for Lyle, and the band hasn't had a chance to sing yet. So once you find out what's going on with Maria, you then go to rehearsals and you get to perform for the very first time, and you get to choose which song you want to rehearse. Season 4, Episode 3, John de Bergerac. I don't know how you pronounce that word, but anyhow, let's move on. After Bradley falls for a girl, he asks John to pen romantic letters on his behalf because Bradley doesn't think that he can write a good poem. So then John gets into his new role and keeps sending the letters even when Bradley has ended the relationship. Hannah and Rachel attempt to give Joe a ladylike makeover. Meanwhile, Paul and Tina are having a different problem and they are suffering from a writer's block. I've not written too much for this episode, but I definitely want to focus on Tina and Paul having a writing block. And the way that I think that would be really nice to do this is if you have played The Last of Us, there is a part where Ellie and Joel, they in certain parts of the game, they play guitar. And I think Tina and Paul should do the same. They should basically play the guitar correctly, and then you play a really nice tune that you should be able to perform later on in the game. You could also go around the town again to get some inspiration, but maybe this time you have to find different places that are playing music, and that'll help you write your next song. So we've obviously got this plot that Bradley has fallen in love with this girl, and what Bradley has to do is he has to sneak love letters to this girl he has met at the venue when she was doing flamenco. But you don't want to get caught by her dad. So Bradley has also got to do either a little bit of sneaking, or he needs to, discreetly hide these love letters in different places without the dad spotting them. There could be also a funny section where you get to write the poem. And it could just be a load of waffle, but it actually gets read out of what you've written, and it's not just like some generic thing. You could write your own, like, roses are red, violets are blue poem. It could be awful. And the girl's like, oh my god, that's so romantic. Thank you so much. I want to say right now that when I watched this episode when I was younger at the time, I didn't just cry. I bawled. Like, I boohooed, especially when Paul was my favourite member of S Club 7. When he left, I was absolutely devastated. So yeah, when I watched this episode, it absolutely broke my heart. So season 4, episode 4, goodbye is the hardest word. Paul confesses to Hannah that he is ready to leave the band. He wants Hannah to help him break the bad news to the others. The band take the news hard and try to persuade Paul to stay. Elsewhere, John tries to learn how to become a matador, and Joe and Tina ban junk food in the house. Meanwhile, Lyle takes up a new habit of spending his time gazing at local waitresses. Hannah feels that Paul is being distant, so her task is to find Paul on the beach, and it gets interrupted by Bradley. So in this one, the aim of the mission is you've got to try and go around Barcelona and try and find out where on earth Paul has gone. Then you're going to have a multiple choice conversation to actually get it out of Paul as what is wrong with, like, Paul, what's going on? What's wrong with you? Is there any way that I can help? And then once you've had that conversation, that gets interrupted by Bradley. But then everybody is asked to gather at a restaurant, and this is when the bad news breaks out. But obviously, the band have had many memories with Paul, and they want to organise a leaving party. So for this, you get to decide what meals they have, what drinks they have. You get to design, the tables, and you get to, oh my God, so you've got Paul's camcorder, and you get to decide what pictures from the camcorder get put on the table, and then everybody reflects on the amazing times that S Club 7 have had, and no, I can't. It'll actually just make me cry. So you can decide what meal they're having, what drinks, prepare the tables, you can light the candles, and you can make him a little leaving cake as well if you want to. I hate this episode. Season 4, episode 5, Absent Friends. The band decide that they have to remain together and shorten their name to S Club. The group are really missing Paul, and they are really upset until they decide to take over Paul's favourite club, Club Catalan. There, they discover that Paul has one last surprise for the band before he goes and leaves. Paul's departure mirrors his exit from the band in real life. Meanwhile, Lyle pursues a certain waitress with the help of Maria. You've got to go and find the club. And when you get to club, obviously, you get rejected to buy it. But then you've got to find this mysterious video. So maybe there's a letter on the table to say, oh, I've got one last surprise for you. This letter's been written by Paul. And then you've got to go around your villa to try and find this VHS. And then you put it in the TV and you watch Paul's message, which then he tells you that he has bought the club. Then this could be like a house flipper moment, and you get to decorate the whole club as you want to. Now, do you know what? I'm going to be kind. There's going to be no budget in this because I really want the players to take their time to relax because, in House Flipper, you're not timed. So I think it should be the same for this. I think the players should have plenty of time to decorate the venue as they would like. Season 1, episode 6, Shakedown. The band get lost in redecorating the club, but Rachel and Tina cannot decide which colour they want to paint the walls. Meanwhile, John and Bradley battle to create the best cocktail and become the cocktail king and make the best cocktails in a time limit. So for this, we're going to ignore the fact that Rachel and Tina can't decide what colour to paint the walls, as we've already discussed that this is going to be a sandbox experience for the player. So we're going to continue on with the sandbox ideas. So we get to decide the menu, and we get to decide what people are eating for the grand opening of the club. This bit is going to be like a cocktail simulator. So when the party gets started, they get to create their own cocktails. So you can maybe either make, a bog standard one like a pina colada or a tequila sunrise, or you can just make your own cocktail and you get to decide what the cocktail is called. I think that would be a really nice idea. But then after that, you can only serve a certain amount of people in a time limit. And if you don't serve a certain amount of people, then you have to start again. You can either be Bradley or John for this challenge. It depends who is your favourite. I don't think it necessarily matters who wins for this, or it's not going to necessarily matter for the game. It's just the idea of having that pressure of like trying to make as many cocktails as you can and to serve as many customers as you can. Then there's a section where Joe and Hannah go on a little bike ride. So if you just want to have a cycle around Barcelona and go into different restaurants or different shops, or again, if you want to spend time at the beach, then you can do that. But in that time, Hannah and Joe do spend all their money and they do need to get back to the club. So after this chill section, you then got a time limit to get back to the club. Then there's going to be a second cocktail competition, but it's not just Bradley and John. Joe is also involved as well. So again, you can play who you want to for this. And the Emmy game is just you've got to make the best cocktails. Season 1, Episode 7, Superstition. So Lyle tries to get S Club 7's latest demo played by cult radio personality El Porco. However, the DJ is only interested in taking advantage. To make matters worse, the group have a run of bad luck. When Tina loses her lucky ring, Maria breaks her ankle, and El Porco ends up in hospital after one of the band's gigs. So there's a lot going on here. So we're gonna break it down. So first of all, we need to get to the restaurant. We're gonna play as Rachel or John, and you're going to find El Porco at the restaurant, and you're gonna discuss about maybe getting a deal. Then you've got a section where Tina needs to find her ring with a metal detector. So she is going to go round the villa and try and find where this lucky ring is. Whilst that's going on, we then have to take Maria to hospital because she has broken her ankle. Bradley was very clumsy and bumped into Maria. And you have to drive to the hospital as fast as you can so that Maria can get the right treatment for her broken ankle. So I don't know who made this fish stew, but I'm going to presume I think it was Tina, but I might be wrong. So one of the band members ends up making a fish stew as El Porco is coming to the club tonight, but it wasn't a very good meal and it's made everybody poorly. And then you've got to try and perform as the band members when you're not feeling well. So maybe the music like really slows down for this and maybe the screen wobbles a bit just to show that you're not feeling well. For a very short time, you then get to play as Maria as you find that El Porco is now in the hospital at the same time as her. And somehow Maria has one of the demos on her. How handy is that? And then she's got to try and walk with her broken ankle to El Porco's bed and give them the S Club 7 demo. Maybe Maria gets like a little dancing bit in this and you think that she's going to be a really bad dancer, and then when you press the right button she just like does handstands and break dances and that, despite the fact that she's got a broken ankle. And then going back to the metal detector mini game, Tina then finds the ring in the restaurant after being worn by a lobster. So you've got a mini game as well after you have found the ring to try and get the ring without hurting the lobster, and then you decide to release the lobster into the sea. Season 1, Episode 8, Spanish John. John surprises the band by announcing that he is Spanish and he has discovered the existence of a long-lost relative, which apparently is a national hero. So John embraces the Spanish lifestyle by insisting that he eats out late, taking siestas and going out to party till early in the morning. The band also have to cheer up a broken-hearted Maria. For this main mission in this level, you're basically just going to play as John. This is going to be a really chilled experience. You get to go around Barcelona and you get to explore the town, explore the cafes, have tapas, and you get to go to the hammock in the villa and have your siesta. Like, this is just a time for you to play as John. I think this is important because I feel like you don't really get to play as John very often in this game. And then obviously Maria has had a heartbreak I haven't got the name of the person that Maria's heartbroken by, but Tina and Rachel decide to take Maria shopping after she goes through a heartbreak and gives Maria a makeover. So you could take her shopping, she could get some new clothes, new accessories, she can get her hair and her makeup done and just make Maria feel fabulous. So I've actually not got anything for season 4, episode 9, The Rain in Spain. Again, when I was trying to find information and watching, I just couldn't grasp enough to get an idea for a level. So we're going to make moves and we're going to go to season 4, episode 10. Season 4, episode 10. Basically, what happens in this episode is there is a mice infestation, and you also realize that they don't have a license in the club to play music. So if they don't get a license, then they can't play the music. So Rachel ends up going on a date with the food inspector, and apparently he makes up the mind about the license as well, but here we are. What we've got to do in this level is find all the 100 mice in the club, and then you're going to go on a date where you play as Rachel. Now, Rachel has to make the right decisions in the date, so it's going to be a multiple choice option. If you pick correctly, you can move on with the game. If you don't, then you're not going to get that music license, which is a pretty big problem for S Club 7. And then after the date, you want to do an incredible performance and you want to thank Miguel for giving you the chance to have a music license. Season 4, episode 11. After hitting the road to showcase their new song, the band gets lost in the middle of nowhere. So it's not good news. Not only do they break down, but they also somehow get their car stolen, and they don't know how they're going to survive the night. John and Joe are going to do a section where it's going to be a sandbox version of the building the camp. So they're going to find the resources like on Sims 2 Castaway, where you get washed up on the shore and you've got to find resources to start a new life on the island. It's going to be a similar vibe with this. So John and Joe go and find resources to make the shelter for the night, and the other band members are going to try and resource food, and they're going to keep an eye out and see if there are any animals that could potentially attack them. When Joe and John have made their shelter, they then go off again to see if they can find any other resources, and they just end up at a party. And they end up spending time at this party, and they can go and play mini games, have a couple of drinks, and John and Joe are just living their best life while all the others are there trying to survive the night in the woods. When it comes to the next day, they're absolutely shattered. They need to try and find this van, and somehow they find the van, and it seems to be an alt-right nick. So you're going to have a night of trying to, find the right things to eat, trying to build the right shelter. Like, this is getting serious now. Season 4, episode 12. With just 24 minutes before going on stage, Rachel realizes that she has forgotten Tina's birthday, and Hannah is then desperately trying to search for a ladies' toilet that is not out of order. And then Lyle worries that his job is on the line when S Club 7 are being secretive around him. And he ends up being stalked by a guy in a briefcase. For this episode, you are going to set up a birthday party for Tina. Now, we've set up quite a few parties in this game. It's going to follow the same principle. You get to design the cake, design the banner, decide, the scenery and what is going on in the party area, and you also get to choose the music. When you've done that, you are going to play as Rachel, and she is going to go around Barcelona trying to find a present, but all the shops seem to be closed, and then you realize that there's one shop left that is open, and you've got a time limit to run to that shop, where you end up buying a dress. So when you get back to meet everybody, you realise that Tina is wearing the dress that you have bought for Tina's birthday. Then a little disaster happens, Tina rips her dress, and then Rachel's like, surprise, surprise, I ended up buying you the same dress. And Tina's like, oh my God, you really thought of me today, thank you. So you play as Lyle then for a short amount of time, and you want to find out who this mysterious man is with a briefcase. So you are just sneaking around, trying not to make any noise, and if you do, you get caught by the mysterious man, who turns out just to be the plumber. And this is the final episode that we're going to talk about for the adventures side of the S Club 7 party adventure game. So this is episode 13, season 4. The bandmates are feeling homesick and they are just really, really excited to go home for this. So they have to reach Barcelona's docks and they jump on a ship because they think they're going to England, but they actually are on the way to Egypt without realizing. For this, you have to reach Barcelona's docks and jump on the ship in a time limit. When you do that, the ship starts sailing. But then you come to realize that you are traveling to Egypt. So you need to do some mini games to try and convince the sailors and the driver of the boat to take you to England. When you complete the mini games, you then ask the driver to give you a tutorial on how to drive the boat. You get a little tutorial, and then you are setting sail finally back to London. Oh my god. I'm sorry I had to speed up that last little bit. My microphone died and I don't know how much charge it's got left, but we have done it. I can't actually believe it, to be honest, but thank you so much for listening to that. I hope it gives you a sense of what the game could potentially be like. I really do feel like this would make an absolutely fantastic game. Now, the final part of the video I'm going to talk about today is what the game cover could potentially look like. So I've got two different designs. So this is my main design. I am going to put a bigger picture on the screen, but this is S Club 7 Worldwide Party. So I'll tell you what my ideas were for this. Now, this was taking me back to my media studies brain because I did study media studies at high school and college. So I really wanted to get the essence that S Club 7 are traveling the world. So I've got the galaxy as the main background, and I've got the globe in the bottom third of the poster. I wanted people to know straight away that this was going to be a game about S Club 7. So I've done the shooting star because I was thinking of like reach for the stars. You've got the S Club S in the middle of the star, and then you've got Worldwide Party around it. So you know what the game is called, you know what the game is going to be about, and I just wanted that essence of nostalgia there. I also want to add that I wanted to add a few little details to the star. So I've got a couple of little snowflakes and I've got a variety of music notes because obviously they sing all around the world. And maybe I didn't add it here, but maybe I'll add like different music notes. And then the one little star which stands out here is the car. So I've got a star which is shaped as a car, and I've put that on top of the globe because it shows that they're going to be traveling around the world. I hope it's not a bad cover. I did not use AI at all for this. You will be happy to know. Now, the second design that I've got is still the same name. So it's S Club Worldwide Party. So my idea for this was I wanted to give that essence of nostalgia back. You know, when you picked up an album in the 2000s, like Now That's What I Call Music or Pop Party, or I think Top of the Pops even brought out some albums as well. So I wanted to give that essence of the 2000s nostalgia. Now, due to copyright reasons, obviously I cannot use S Club 7's images unless I was to use it for like a commentary reason. So instead, I kind of just went for the silhouettes. So I went for the rainbow colours because like, and when the rainbow's shining over you, that's when your dreams will all come true. And, they're all doing like different poses, like one's dancing and one's singing and one's break dancing. Then I decided to add the disco ball as well because they seem to be performing a lot. You know, they're under the disco ball, they've got all the stage lights on them, and I just really, really wanted to capture that they're just going to be partying all the time in this game. And that's it. That's it. We have taken a very deep dive of what if S Club 7 had brought out a video game. I just want to say a massive thank you if you have watched till the end. I really, really appreciate it. I am just getting started on my longer content journey. So it would be fantastic if you could go and subscribe to my channel, give it a like, give it a share if you have any friends that are a fan of S Club 7. And I also hope that I put S Club 7 into a good light. You know, they're a very well respected band. I absolutely loved them back in the 2000s. You know, I grew up with them in my childhood. And I just kind of wanted to bring that essence back to 2026. So you can also check me out on TikTok as well. It's Chill and Comfort Gaming. It's the same name as my YouTube. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you for the next one.